Hello to everybody in the chat. Welcome to It Takes a Village, where we sit down with candidates from all over the country to discuss a wide range of issues brought by you, the viewer. I am your charming and furious host, Political Jess, and I'm not going anywhere. Speaking of our guest tonight, comes to us from the fabulous sunny state of Florida, running for the 7th Congressional District. Please give a warm and amazing welcome to the incomparable Marialana Kinter. Yay!
I love your patches and thank you for inviting me.
Of course, I'm so happy that you're here. Before we get started in taking questions from the village people, working title only, let's get things started with a little bit of an icebreaker. You've heard of the straw that broke the camel's back, right? We're not being hit with straws. We're being hit with the entire camel, all of the camel, all of the time, constantly. So tell me, what was the camel, so to speak, that inspired you to run? And if you could also give us a brief synopsis of who you are and where you are hoping to represent.
Absolutely. So the camel that broke, or the straw that broke the camel's back, right, requires backstory because the straw was my mom passing away when I was 24 at the same time as being stationed in New York City as a nuclear field scout. And so to explain that story, that's the bottom line up front. But to explain it, growing up, I was raised by a single mom. We were the youngest. I was the youngest of 4 kids. My dad passed away when I was 5, leaving her with 4 children to raise on her own. And she had a lot of health issues. She was a breast cancer survivor. She definitely did her best with us, but we relied on Medicaid, free school lunches, EBT, any social program that exists. We needed it because my mom needed the help in raising us. We spent time in the foster care system. My mom was able to regain custody. And at 17, I joined the Navy as a nuclear reactor plant supervisor. And while I was in the Navy, I was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina, upstate New York, Washington State on board the USS Nimitz, and finally in New York City and Long Island. While I was out there, I was the nuclear field scout, meaning all I did all day, all week, was talk nuclear power, talk to people, thousands of people a week, and hear about their hopes, dreams, and what they are struggling with. And I was seeing the same issues reflected back at me that I experienced in my childhood worse than ever before. And while I was out there, my mom unfortunately got very sick and passed away. I was 24. And anyone who knows what that type of loss is like knows that you go through a very reflective period afterwards where you think about the time you spent with them, the lessons they taught you. And while I was going through that reflective period, thinking a lot about my childhood, the values my mom instilled in me, I was being reflected the same issues, worse than ever, 15 years later. And that's when I determined when I got out of military service, I would transition into public service because there's no excuse for these issues to still be going on, to still be unresolved, and the people of America to still be feeling left behind by their government.
Yeah, seriously. And can I just say thank you so much for your service?
Thank you for your support.
Super awesome. But I am dying to know. What did you think of the whole what Petey Keg's breath said? Not that I'm trying to disparage. Yeah, I am. I am trying to disparage him. He's he's terrible. But I would love to know, as a veteran, what your thoughts are on that.
I did a video about it too, if anyone wants to watch it on my page in response. I was unimpressed, much like all of the generals who none of whom clapped, right?
Yeah.
There's this thing in the military called an all hands where everyone has to go to something and it's at the most inconvenient times, and this was their version of that, where you're forced to be somewhere and then you learn why you're there and it is pointless almost. And my opinion of it is to say the biggest issue in the military is the woke agenda is an immediate smack in the face to every enlisted soldier out there, every enlisted sailor, airman, or Marine who's struggling with the low pay, the poor health care, the inability to take care of their family because they're constantly being sleep deprived, fed BS food, terrible food. And in my video, I show pictures of the food that we were served on board the ship I was on while we were deployed. We got boxes of food that were rejected from Texas State Penitentiary. We get grade D food for federal institutions only. And so to say the woke agenda and having uniforms that are tailored to fit the female body is the biggest issue in the military is a smack in the face to every service member we have.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
also to say that we just need to buy more fighter jets. No matter how much money we invest in tech, if we don't invest in the people who operate it and give them a quality of life where they don't have the highest risk of suicide in any federal job,
Yeah.
we will never have ready service members, and we will never be America's greatest military. We won't.
Hmm.
We can have the best tech. We need to take care of our people.
I really feel like the Department of War is like a very like man thing. That's a man thing, right? Like if women were in charge, it would never ever like that would never have occurred to anybody to rename the Department of Defense the Department of War. Um, but it's the same as the Gulf of Mexico, right? Like, cool. Yeah. Awesome. So let me bring up our first guest, if my little button will work here. The Department of War is absolutely diabolical.
Oh,
I
hello.
absolutely agree with you there. Hey, Bacon.
Oh, hello. How you doing? I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm 46, Kamala Harris. He, him. I am from California, and I am a disabled person, and I was an immigrant, became citizen 2007. I got 3 questions for you. Since you are running as a congresswoman, all right. Uh, Number one, I'm gonna go to immigration first. What uh, what bill are you gonna propose, if ever? And I know you will win because you're a grassroots candidate. Because I will support you as well. And if I can be there, I will support that. Number one, what bill would you propose to protect our immigrants and to let this uh, ice aid, ice ice cream people accountable for what they did after this administration? What will you suggest or what will you bring to the table?
Absolutely. Great question, first. Thank you for giving me the information, everything. I would like to first talk about my personal tie to the immigration system. I know that a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people don't have skin in the game. My husband, who I met through the military, he is also a veteran. We met while we were in. He is first generation. My mother in law's from Colombia. My father in law is from Mexico. And they live in South Florida. I'm sure we've all heard of the internment camp, as they call it, Alligator Alcatraz. I personally don't enjoy that name. I don't like it. I prefer to call it what it is, an internment camp where rights do not have to be followed or given human rights. And so for me, it's when I see this happening, I see this happening to my family. I see this happening to my in laws. It's not a talking point. It's not something that's going on in faraway lands. It's happening in our neighborhood. And we have the moral responsibility to look at it and correct it. So, personally, legislation that I would like to introduce, there is currently legislation up right now saying that ICE has to have identifying features available, whether it's a name tag or a forward facing thing on their helmet, having face protection to cover your identity while you snatch people off of the street is wrong. Having face protection for safety, that's something I can get behind for police, military, sure, for safety, but that's not the intent of what they're doing. They're using face masks to cover their identity. But when you stand on the side of justice and righteousness, if you actually believe in what you're doing, you wouldn't cover your face. And so there's currently legislation proposed to mandate they have to identify themselves or have some identifying feature on them. I don't think that'll get passed, so I'm more than happy to reintroduce it, co-sponsor it, because that's the first thing that needs to happen before anything else can change. As long as we allow anonymity while people violate rights, people snatch American citizens in some cases, or veterans who've served in some cases, off the streets, not telling their family and disappear them, nothing will ever improve until we have accountability in that front first. And then for when this is all resolved and we have recovered our nation, because I am determined that will happen, Accountability must be given out. The same way that while in the military, if I were to violate the UCMJ, I would be held accountable. If someone's violating rights of an American citizen or violating human rights based on international law, they need to be held accountable. Saying I was doing a job, these orders I was given, are not acceptable. It's not acceptable in the military, it's not acceptable in ICE, it's not acceptable in the police force. Saying that is what made us introduce the idea of war crimes into humanity. Nothing has changed since then. We need accountability for this. Does
Oh,
that answer your
thank you
question?
for yeah, that's answered my question. Number two, since like I said, I am a disabled person, and I'm gonna say this to the audience down below. If you have kids that has a disabled, or you are a disabled person, don't let your disability run to your life. Run with it with dignity and your head held up high and with a smile, by the way. That's number one. Number two, the question is, as a congresswoman, what will you bring to the table to for disabled community, and what legislation would you suggest or bring to the table as equality for our work, our our employment, and our protection, added protection to our workforce, and for equality for our wages and stuff like social security. And I wish that they get rid of our 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week. So equal playing field, as I call it. What will you suggest?
You're bringing really good questions. I like it. Um, I would like to introduce a little backstory about myself. I got out of the military after 8.5 years. I don't usually include this in my introduction because of exactly what you just said. When you're disabled, you don't let it run your life. You control it, right? I was medically retired after an injury on board the USS Nimitz destroyed my hip and shoulder joint, and I got reconstructive surgery on my shoulder, and I have ongoing issues with my hip still. And I am a very able-bodied appearing person, which is fantastic. It's a privilege, and I typically don't introduce it like that. But disability healthcare, the accessibility of healthcare for specific disabilities is often ignored in legislation. We talk typically to the majority of people who might be able-bodied, and that's what people tend to focus on. They don't recognize that no matter what fraction of people you're talking about, one of the most universal things about them is that every group of people has disabled people within it. Whether it's a physical disability or a mental disability, it's a universal thing uniting every single group of people. If you give me an ethnicity, a heritage, a race, a religion, a belief, a sexuality, there are disabled people within every group. And so we need to take a more universal approach, and it shouldn't be an exception for disabled people. It should be the bare minimum of the way that we operate. It needs to be a mode of operation to be inclusive towards able-bodied and disabled people. People think that they're going above and beyond to be inclusive to disabled people when they're not. It should be the expectation. And so one specific example of legislation is specific to the veterans benefits and veterans healthcare. And this is applicable to most groups of healthcare that we could talk about. We can talk about Medicaid, Medicare, veterans benefits, a healthcare that people can apply to. Usually you have to pay extra to get specific care for any given disability, a prosthetic, mental health, anything like that. You have to go through a whole separate process to access that portion of your healthcare. That should not be the case. It should be included in your healthcare to be able to achieve those things through the normal path. It shouldn't be a bunch of hoops you have to jump through. So an example would be if someone needed a prosthetic. For the VA, they have to go through a bunch of hoops and go to a specialty person if the VA decides to pay for it or if the tier of healthcare they're on decides to pay for it. Otherwise, you can be waiting 6 months to a year and pay thousands of dollars in order to access something that should be included. And it's the same in Medicaid and Medicare. People have to jump through all these hoops to access their specialty care because they might have a disability instead of it just being built into the package. So that would be legislation I'd be open to proposing or co-sponsoring, because I know other people are also interested in it, is the ability to have it part of the main healthcare system and not, I'm doing something special by introducing care for disability, people with disabilities, or to be inclusive to disabilities.
And thank you very much. And on that note, because I am at my quote unquote work, I'm gonna have done. Thank you for having me. Good luck on your race, and like I said, don't let your disability run into your life. Run with it. Have a
Thank
great
you for the
day.
questions. I hope you have a good one.
Thank you, Bacon. Looking dapper tonight, my friend. All right, next we're going to bring up, excuse me, we're going to bring up Luke. Neil, you're on deck. Hello, Luke.
Hello, how are we doing?
Hello, good. How are you?
Doing all right.
Awesome.
Um, how do you pronounce the name? Kinter?
Yes, Marialana Kinter.
Gotcha. So my main question, is, I can't remember if it was like an EO that was passed by, DeSantis or if it's like a state law, but when it comes to ending him doing the dumbass decision of ending the mandatory vaccine in public school kind of thing. Um, like if there was to be any way to like help overturn that to make sure that we can actually follow an actual pro-life agenda, how would that go about?
So luckily, Florida, although there's a supermajority of Republicans in the Florida legislature, the Democrats that are there are extraordinarily passionate, and they're already working at the state level to rectify that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think everyone, every single Democrat in the state House or Senate, understands how detrimental to public health this can be and
Yeah.
probably will be. Introducing it not only harms people who might have autoimmune disorders, our senior citizens, our very young children, or people who just might need the extra protection through herd immunity. It
Yeah.
also was not long ago that we were celebrating the science that was saving millions of lives, these vaccines that we've
Yeah.
now weaponized into some political thing instead of the thing that they are, which is life-saving medicine.
Yeah, exactly. And and the reason I say like really pro-life is because those who claim to be pro-life are not pro-life.
They're pro-birth. Let's be clear. They're
Pro-forced
pro-birth.
birth. Yep, that part.
I've brought this issue up before as a having spent time in the foster care system. People don't
Mm-hmm.
care after you're born, and if we're gonna introduce the idea that federal grants can't be used for any healthcare providers that provide abortion services, which is something that they have introduced,
Yeah.
is the idea
Abortion.
that if you have a clinic and one of their services is abortion, they won't get any federal money. We should instead then federalize the foster care system.
We love the
Yep,
TikTok shop.
exactly.
Just a reminder.
Terrible situations.
Just a reminder, guys. TikTok safe language, please. Schmabortion is the way to go, or some other acronym.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can even just call it, honestly, reproductive health care.
That's what it is. Yes.
It literally is, yeah.
Like on the nose.
And like honestly, like this next thing is like straight up common sense, but I'm not about to lose my train of thought. Where it's the fact that like they're putting so much effort into helping the unborn fetuses. I'm like, imagine how much more safe this country would be if you had that exact amount of effort towards pew pew violence.
Amazing.
And
What a thought.
cuz like honestly, if you're so focused on what content or what books kids are reading, excuse me, unalived kids in school cannot read.
Fair. That's fair.
That's a true point. Also,
yeah.
to regulate the vaccinations and tell people that we can't control what they do with their bodies and teach them that from a very young age, which is what we should be teaching them.
Literally.
But then saying it doesn't apply to women
Mm-hmm.
is an
Bananas.
interesting take. We can't let them decide what books to read in school.
Yeah.
But we can make them not get vaccines and decide to teach them all of these other political ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you did say that you like grew up or have experience with the foster care system. Um, what does like human rights wise in connection to that, what makes me like frustrated is like is passing legislation that like LGBTQ couples like making sure they cannot adopt and thinking that the kids will turn gay, and I think to myself, so then why are straight couples giving them away?
Florida law used to be that if you ever were in a same-sex relationship or identified as somebody who was attracted to the same sex or not the social
Yeah.
norm sex, you would not be able to adopt ever. I was just at the LGBT conference and I was talking to a woman who has adopted now, but she
Yeah.
wasn't able to because she is a bisexual, and this was the 90s. And so they asked, have you ever been in a relationship with someone of the same sex? And she said yes, and she wasn't allowed to adopt until that rule was completely gotten rid of.
Jesus,
That's
Mary and
awful.
Joseph, that is heartbreaking.
That's awful.
But that's that's mainly
On
all
that
of
note,
it. But obviously, me in New York State, I literally cannot vote for you. But if I could, I would.
you can
Thank
do
you.
a
If
whole
you,
lot of things to
yes,
support, though, Luke. There's so many things you could
Exactly.
do.
Yep. Which I know that.
if anyone
We
on
talk
here is
about
on
that.
Instagram, it's the hardest platform to build on. Follow
Yeah.
on Instagram. Make MAGA Day worse, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming up, Luke. We really appreciate you.
See ya.
All right, bye. Neil, my friend, how are you doing?
Hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Jess, you actually owe me a DM on Discord, by the way, before I get started.
Okay, noted. I will store that in my nugget for later.
All right, thank you. So Marialana, I want to. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Maria Lena.
Marialana. Okay. Again, want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't want to disrespect. So my question is actually specific to the district, because I actually have extended family in Sanford. So soon to be constituents of yours, potential, and they are Democrats, so they will be voting in the upcoming primary. And I think you have, three other filed candidates right now, other than yourself in the primary, or it might be four. I can't remember.
It
doesn't
currently
matter.
two others.
Two others. Okay. All right. Fantastic. They don't matter. You're the important one. That's why we're here. At least that's how I feel. And how Jess feels. How we all feel in the community.
Our opinions are the only ones that matter.
Exactly. So my question is kind of related to just kind of thinking about the district, thinking about what kind of where Congressman Mills kind of didn't directly impact in terms of the different major cities and things like that. Just kind of thinking, and I didn't realize until I looked at the congressional district that actually I have extended family in Sanford. So that works. That's wonderful. I'm going to relay the message. At the same time, I'm curious, thinking about the folks in Port Orange, thinking about the folks in Sanford, thinking about, oops, I am messing this up. And just some of the other major cities as well. What would you say is the kind of biggest issue? Because obviously, as you are crisscrossing the district, obviously, everyone's issues are going to be different. But what would you say specifically, just thinking about like some of the more major cities in the district, like Sanford and Port Orange, for instance? What would you say is are the issues? And obviously, I think you would agree that the issues facing Port Orange and the issues facing Sanford are similar but also different, because
That's what I was just about to lead with.
because obviously Port Orange is not landlocked and Sanford is. So just kind of thinking about that, and also thinking about the demographics of the district, or thinking about the demographics of the district, but also specifically the demographics of the two major cities. What would you say, are as you are getting ready to knock doors, or if you're already starting to knock doors, great. But what would you say are the issues facing those two major areas, and more specifically Sanford, that I can relay and put you at the top of mind for my family in Sanford.
Great question. So you beat me to the first part of the answer, which was that this district is huge, and the issues facing them across the district actually are not the same. Major issues, right? We have the cost of living, which is affecting everybody. And I would say for Sanford specifically, the cost of living is a gigantic one, and then across the whole district, but especially in Volusia, because the district is two counties, Seminole and Volusia County. A lot of what Seminole has experienced, for instance, is the cost of living skyrocketing. And this, of course, is taking effect in Volusia as well. But a huge, huge issue in Volusia right now is the flooding, to the point where they are having multiple town halls, multiple this, because as Orlando, which is the major hub city, expands and the urbanization of it expands out, and we have urban sprawl, which is the big driving factor in the cost of living expanding and going up and pricing people out of their homes. They're also developing in rural areas, which is in turn these developing groups are developing their new properties at a higher elevation, a few feet higher, to battle the flooding issue. But in turn, that creates storm runoffs in areas that might not have previously flooded. But now that these new developments and these new apartment complexes and giant plots of land are being built at a higher elevation, it's causing the surrounding areas to flood catastrophically, to flood exponentially worse than they were in the previous years. This is Florida, right? We know that at some point it is going to flood. There's a lot of swamp here. There's a lot of hurricanes. There's a lot of issues with that, but it's getting worse than ever. And a lot of people say it's due to climate change, which yes, that is a big concerning factor as our hurricane seasons get worse and the rain seasons get worse. But a bigger factor is man-made, and that the developers are putting these rural areas completely underwater by prioritizing their developing lands and not caring about the other ones. They're installing retaining walls for their area, which forces all the storm runoff to completely flood the other areas. So I'd say places like Port Orange and Volusia County in specific, as we are completely ruining the rural aspect, developing it, they're flooding a lot more. In Sanford, as we're ruining the rural aspect and they're developing it more, is more of the cost of living. And so those are two gigantic things. And then when we account for the demographics, we have a lot of senior citizens, and we have a lot of young people are leaving the area, which is leaving in turn a lot of middle-aged people and senior citizens as the main demographic. A lot of veterans, a lot of people who rely on social programs. Social programs being not only just Medicaid, Medicare, but also your veterans benefits are social programs. We have the University of Central Florida, which has the highest percentage of veterans out of any university in Central Florida. And we're going to see them being affected by the cuts to the VA, the cuts to the veterans benefits. And as we cut more social programs, we'll see the senior citizens, which is a big demographic out here, being affected by that. And we're going to see bigger wait times to access medical care. And so in conjunction with being priced out, they're also not going to be able to afford their health care anymore, and then their houses are going to be flooding. And so I would say those are the major issues and a brief summary of our demographic. A lot of senior citizens, middle-aged people, the young people are getting out of here, especially as we get more and more red, honestly. Florida is the testing ground for Project 2025, and that's what we're seeing. Does that answer that? I know it's a long answer, but it's a very dynamic district.
Yes, it does answer the question. Thank you so much. And also, before I hop down, this is a business related thing for you, but I actually am a national political consultant on the Democratic side of the aisle, and I have I have two friends that are fundraisers, grass tops and grassroots in the state of Florida. And they cover the entire state. So if you need, if you are looking for a fundraiser that can provide that affordable for your campaign budget, because let's just keep it real, campaign budgets are campaign budgets, and so I know what they are because I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. So with that being said,
I don't want to
DM
and we can chat.
Certainly, I'll do that.
I'd love to connect. Thank you for your question also.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Neil. Is that all you had?
You're welcome. That's all I had. I'll hop down now.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. See, we're making magic
Yes, you're
happen.
so efficient.
I love it. Okay, so Curly Fries, I am going to invite you up here next to ask your question. Um, Hi,
Hi,
how's it
can
going?
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you.
All right. Wait, where I can see you. Hi, I actually live in, well, no, I don't. I lived in Palm Beach County, but I just moved up to Indian River County. I think I'm just outside of your district. But, oh, you can't see me. I bet you could. Let's see. Okay, hi.
Hi, there you are. Hi.
So my big thing is 2A. I understand that, people need protection, they need the safety, they need food, if they do hunting or whatever. So I'm okay with, to an extent, with the artillery, but I think we need some rules because obviously with what's been going on in the country every day, we need some change. Do you have any input on that? Because I know that's a really tough thing to fight through in this country at all. Do you have anything that you feel like you could do?
Yes, absolutely. So I need to give the disclaimer first. I am considered very progressive in that, which is the explanation for it's weird. All of my views, when you go to my website, I'm the only candidate in this race who's not afraid to put their actual opinion on their website. So each issue, I have the issue, why it's an issue, and actual things that we can do to solve it. And so all of my opinions and issues are based on a more free America. I think America, the best thing about it is the land of the free, the land of the protected rights, right? And so all my stances are about a more free America. And oftentimes, people label me as a huge progressive because of it, because apparently freedom is progressive. And
What a concept.
part of that does go into gun rights, is that I believe that we can't get rid of 2A. I'm not one of the ban it people. I don't believe we should ban guns or ban things, right? What's the
Pew
TikTok
pews.
safe version? Pew
Pew
pews.
pews or tools.
Um,
You can say tools. We'll understand
okay.
what you say when you say tools. That way you don't
I
have to sound like a child. Pew pew.
when we ban 2A, for instance, I'm not a person who believes in an outright ban. I think that it is a right, a protected right, and we have it for tyrannical governments. We do, and people need them to do things like hunt, self protection, whatever. But we need the avenue for safe tool ownership. An outright ban is not the correct answer. Neither is a free for all. We can't have that. We need very strict screening requirements. People should still be able to get tools when they need them, when they would like them. You're allowed to own them safely. There needs to be a criminal background check where it actually checks every county that you've lived in. Because right now, if I go up to North Carolina, I can pay $5 and get a new tool without a real background check. When I come back to Florida, I should have to report that I got it. Not confiscated, not anything like that, but we need the avenue to have safe tool ownership. If someone commits a crime and when we pull up their file, we see that they own tools, we should evaluate if this crime that they committed, if it's a traffic stop and they rolled through a stop sign, right? We're not going to be like, take all their tools away. But if someone gets called for beating their spouse or doing something dangerous and criminal neglect or criminal neglect towards a minor, maybe we should evaluate it. We need more criminal flagging checkpoints that are actually integrated into the system. And those are two things that we can do. We also need avenues via the state level to give us avenues for safe tool ownership. Something that some states do is they'll subsidize tool safe locks or even certain tool safes. They know people are going to own them, but we can help you own them safely. If we make owning a car, if we make car insurance more expensive and more difficult to obtain than the actual car itself, what would happen? People aren't going to stop driving. People are going to drive uninsured. So when we make having safe tool ownership more difficult than owning a tool, people are going to not do it safely. No child should have a tool. Some states, 16 years old, you can get one. No. Nope. We shouldn't. If we're going to say kids can't get vaccines, can't choose what books they read because we're banning them, kids do not need access to tools. They shouldn't be subjected to tools.
Yeah.
A tool in a child's hand is a child that's not with us anymore.
Yep. It's dangerous.
Sorry to say that so
Agreed.
seriously, but it's a serious matter.
It is 100% a serious matter, and I don't think it's taken serious enough.
I agree.
I see a comment. I usually will leave the comments to the moderator, but one thing said education on safety. That's another solution is we can subsidize providers of tools who are willing to give state regulated courses. If they're willing to give maybe subsidized courses that low income people can access instead of a huge regulation fee or a huge registration fee, then the state can provide compensation to those companies, to those providers who are willing to give universal education.
I appreciate your input, and I wish I could vote for you because I 100% would.
Tell
I
your friends.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so much
luck.
for coming up. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I never understood why we have to be licensed to drive a car, right? You have to get tested every 4 years to drive a car. You have to you have to register your car. We have all these rules to operate a vehicle, but there's like none for tool ownership. It makes no sense to me. Like it should be the same as
Also,
owning a car.
with my driver's license for a normal vehicle, I can't drive a semi truck. With a normal
Mm-hmm.
tool license, you should not be able to operate an automatic tool. We need to have tiered licensing as well. Not impossible
1,000%.
licensing, just tiered because it requires different levels of classes and different levels of dynamic. They're different. An automatic tool is a lot more dynamic than a regular.
Definitely. 1,000%. Scarlett was going to come up and ask a question, but I think that she is not there for some reason. I'm sure she'll come back. If Scarlett, come back if you can. While we are waiting for that, let's talk about Florida politics. Real quick, while Scarlett's coming back up now. But before Scarlett asks her question, I'm going to sneak one in, Scarlett. So Florida's been run by Republicans for like 3 decades, right? It's the same here in Texas. So tell me, I know that the tide is changing. It's been trying to change there for a long time now. How do you get people on board with your message without disenfranchising them?
I think that's a great question. It's about, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, it's about inclusivity and diversity and recognizing the different points of view. Just because something we're seeing a lot is the polarization of people based on ideas and opinions, not based on actual facts. Just because you believe differently than me doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you are un-American or less of a patriot than I am. It just means that you might have different values, and that comes from our lived experiences. And I know there are a group of people who don't like the word diversity and don't like that word of inclusion, but that's the view take we have to have on it. For instance, I have family members and very good friends, having been in the military, who are extraordinarily conservative. They aren't less American than me. They don't love our nation less than me because we have different viewpoints and different values. They just see a different way to achieve it, which is why we have a bipartisan government so that we can introduce these ideas and come to a mutual conclusion on what can best progress our nation as a whole. And so it's Florida. I talk to a lot of people. A lot of them don't agree with me politically on certain things, but finding what they do agree with is more important than being divisive about it. And that's something that we see all the time. We have to stop with the you believe this, so you're a terrible person, and more of, oh, why do you believe that? What experience did you have that led you to believe that? Do you have experience that could change my point of view? Do you have experience that could be valuable in this conversation? Things that maybe I haven't considered? And that's something when I find someone who might not agree or might not do that, we can usually find a common ground somewhere. For me, I find it to be my military history often. It introduces the idea of whatever I'm saying isn't from the intention of disparaging someone or bringing them down. It's for the idea of progressing the nation.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, Scarlett, you are up. Sorry to kind of bogart your question there, bud. So.
Oh, no, listen, you're fine. I was checking out at a small business when I had my phone in my hand, and I probably like canceled my guest request at some point because I almost typed several times replies to people who I don't even know what they said to begin with because my hand was holding the phone. So it is completely fine. I'm going to preface all of this when I get to my question by saying that it is Regiel's fault that I wasn't here on time because I was catching up on some of his podcasts on Spotify, and then I lost track of time. I went, oh shit,
They're
I am
so
missing the
good.
first. Oh, it's Regiel's fault. So we can blame him 100% for me not
we do.
catching the first bit. So
We will. Naomers, tell him.
unfortunately, yeah, exactly. Naomers needs to let him know it is, Regiel is trouble 100%. So anyway, but so I didn't hear anything, unfortunately, of what she had to say. And it's Maria Elena, right?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. All right. Okay, so I'm going to preface that first, but I did want to, before I even ask my question, add a bit to the previous conversation. And I don't know if they have updated this since then, but there was a time, unless it has been changed, that in Arkansas, for example, when you turn 16, you just get handed your license. Okay, that's a bit ridiculous. Okay, we should not be in a position where we just hand a 16-year-old a license. The reason I thought of that is because I have a 16-year-old who is about to get his license. And of course, he has to take a test here in Illinois, blah, blah, blah. And the reason I thought of that in relation to 2A is because my children are all dual citizens of Sweden, where in order to get your driver's license, you must take a test that lasts an entire year. You must drive your car in every single form of weather that Sweden experiences to prove that you know how to operate the car. Okay.
Wow.
You must not only take your driving test during each of those seasons, but you have to pass the written test relevant to that. My ex-husband had to go through all of that. It also costs you about $1,000 to take the driving test. Now, I'm not saying we need to go as strict as that. But if we were to, for example, take examples like that and go, how could we make the pew pew testing be a little bit more stringent so that we can make sure that someone who is going to use their pew pew, for example, hunting, actually knows how to use it under stress? Again, I don't know what that looks like, but why is it, for example, that we hand a police officer a pew pew after a very small amount of time in the academy? And then we expect that person to be able to handle all levels of stress when they have this loaded pew pew on their hip, for example. So I think not only when we're talking about 2A reform for regular civilians, we do need to really sit back and have this conversation of what does that look like? What does that look like for LEOs who have to carry a pew pew with pew pew things inside of it, right? Because we have too many instances where people are being removed from this planet because someone said, oh, well, I saw something. And in one case, it was a bag of Skittles, right? So I really feel like when we're discussing 2A, we have to get to a point where we are, as a nation, willing to discuss the fact that we are giving tools to human beings fresh out of the academy, sometimes no older than barely able to drink, right? And they have a loaded pew pew just at the ready, right? So that was just something that I wanted to toss out there, food for thought when we're discussing 2A. Then the other thing I wanted to ask you specifically, was that where are you at on, I'm assuming I know the answer, but where are you at on issues involving transgender children under the age of 18? I asked that question even though I don't live in your state or your district because I am the parent of a minority transgender young woman. And now at this moment in time, not only do I have no right to women's health care because TRICARE has stopped paying for my pap smears, TRICARE will no longer pay for my birth control in the IUD form. I'm retired Army and I don't have the right to make decisions about my own body anymore. I'm retired Army and went to WAR for this country and held a pew-pew for this country, but I can't make decisions about my transgender daughter's health care. I now have to pay for all of her health care out of pocket. Um, and of course, her doctor has had to deal with threats of sending social security numbers to the DOJ of all of the transgender patients that he sees. So I'm just curious where you stand on some of those polarizing issues, including trans girls playing in sports, because we live in a blue state, and yet she still quit sports this year because she said, Mom, what's the point? The NCAA bent the knee and kissed the ring.
That's
So just
heartbreaking.
curious. Yes, it is. And she
That's
cried, telling her coach that she was no longer going to be able to play volleyball, and she was an instrumental part of her teams. Not the best, not the worst, but very good. And so so yeah, there are a lot of polarizing issues, not just healthcare, but also sports. And I'm just curious to see where you stand on those things.
First, I want to say I'm sorry you're going through that. Every single one of those things you said, from not being able to access your reproductive health care through TRICARE, to your daughter having to quit sports, to not being able to make decisions for your minor child in terms of what you believe is best for her as her parent or guardian. I'm sorry you're going through that. That is an invasion of privacy. That's an invasion of your rights. And minor health care should be at the discretion of a medical provider and their guardian. Whether it's the parent, guardian, legal guardian. As someone who was in foster care and then legally changed guardianship at 16, I tend to default in my language to guardian to be, again, inclusive to people who might not identify with that.
I appreciate that because I have several friends who are trans and who are parents, and they would appreciate that. So thank you.
Absolutely. So I think that kind of got into it a little bit. I think that your healthcare is at your personal discretion. If you're a minor, at the discretion of the person who's legally responsible for you and your medical provider. The government, besides regulating safe, tested, FDA approved or medicine approved, board certified aspects of the medical care, should not have a decision. It's not how someone identifies and what hormones they take, as long as they aren't a court ordered person to be in a medical care facility, the government should not be involved in it unless it is a public safety matter, meaning if someone was deemed insane or deemed needing to be in a full-time care facility. What a functioning person who is approved for independent operation in their life does with their medical provider is no skin off anybody's nose, right? What someone else does doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my insurance rates. It doesn't affect anything like that. We have a lack of regulation in the healthcare system, meaning a lack of uniformity across the board in terms of cost of medication, cost of insurance, because the government is saying we shouldn't regulate that. That's a private industry, right? That's why they won't have universal health care, because it's a gigantic private industry. But then as soon as it comes to something they don't morally approve of, then we can regulate it. That's not how that works. That's not how that should work. If we're going to say it's a corporate entity and it's private between you and your doctor in terms of what they charge you, then it should be the same across the board. Not based on what services you're receiving.
Yeah.
The fact that you can't make decisions for your child is terrible, disgusting, and wrong. The fact that the government is saying you can't get reproductive health care is an invasion of privacy. Why? I got birth control while I was in the military. The government paid for it because they didn't want me to get pregnant while I was in the military. But as soon as I get out, I'm open for service. Now you don't care?
Yeah, no,
that's
and my OB fought for 6 months trying to get them this past 6 months trying to get them to pay for my IUD replacement. And they kept denying it and kept denying it. And the problem is my body likes to be weird. So I have to actually go under surgery because I have to have it surgically removed. And then because I'm already out, they just go ahead and put the other one in, right? So I not only cannot afford surgery on my own, let's be so real, I cannot afford the $1,000 IUD out of pocket. So we're at a point where my primary care is trying to figure out if will they pay for me to just have my tubes tied then, because I don't want more kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have six, three I gave birth to, three that are my extras. Like I'm cool, bro. I'm
If
cool.
you someone is paying for their medical, and the thing they want is obviously safe medically, meaning approved through science, there shouldn't be a limit on what services they're able to obtain with the given idea that it's safe. I can't stress that part enough. Like you
Right.
shouldn't be able to get a
Yeah.
rabbit foot sewn onto your hand or something. But if it's safe, if it's approved, then go for it, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But it
No, I
again,
appreciate your
that
answer.
freedom aspect. And then in terms of the sports, I'm not shirking that question. I think that's a difficult question to answer. I think the fact that I can't say that no one can ban it because that goes into religious expression, right? If a church has a recreational soccer team and it's part of their religious rules, previously based on
Yeah.
precedent, we've been able to say before that, say, an example would be there was a Catholic adoption agency that wouldn't adopt kids out to same-sex people, and the Supreme Court ruled that that was fine as an expression of religion. Based solely on precedent like that, it's hard to say that no one can say that, because then churches can sue the government and say that you're limiting our expression to operate within our religious freedom on church grounds through a church related organization. I don't think that the federal government, again, should regulate a private industry in that aspect and force them to do something if the private industry or private organization, based on their own methods of expression within the First Amendment right and their protected rights, wants to do something. It's hard to say whether they can or can't, but the government should not make more restrictive rules for people and say that an organization won't receive funding if they don't do it a certain way. That's where the big issue comes in.
No, I agree. And I do know that there are a lot of course, church-based schools that would understandably have the right to structure their sports teams the way they would like to structure them. And that's not an issue at all. But like, for example, my daughter had a blocker put in before all of this, of course, that TRICARE paid for, because before all of this they were allowed to. She had a blocker put in when she was 12, when she hit Tanner stage 2, so she's never even been through male puberty, and so there's no advantage whatsoever. And yet, of course, still according to Mango Mussolini, she would be classified as a boy trying to play in women's sports, when in fact, A, she's not, because she's a trans woman, and again, B, when you haven't even gone through puberty, all kids are pretty much the same. There's no physical advantage whatsoever when we're talking about prepubescent children. And of course, prior to bending the knee and kissing the ring, the NCAA went by IOC standards, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't know for other states that are blue, but like, for example, in Illinois, all you have to do if you're a transgender athlete under the age of 18 was just had to prove by documentation that you had been on whatever hormone replacement therapy that you identify with. And I don't remember the number of months rule that it is, but under a certain age, there's none of those rules, even because even they recognize basic biological science that there's no advantage up to a certain age or whatever. So, yeah.
I want to stress this one point. I don't think I made it clear in my original. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
member of the LGBTQ community. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in protecting trans individuals and trans people, inclusive of trans children, based on their guardians' appropriate ruling of their safety. I can't
Right.
stress it enough. I don't care. Like, obviously I care, but I don't. There's no skin off my back. It does nothing to hurt me. And
Oh, right.
who wants to play a sport and they're good at it, having hormone testing, whatever, as we've done previously, there are intersex people. There are people
Oh,
with hormone
100%.
disorders,
Thank you for that.
and
Oh my God. Thank you.
regulating that becomes very tricky. I know people say it doesn't
Yes.
exist, but intersex people and hormone disorders have existed and will continue to exist as long as
Since the
human
dawn of
beings.
time.
Yes. And so when I give the answer in terms of it's a hard thing. I don't think it should be a regulated thing, because we have to account in the land of the free, not based on morality, but based on the not limiting of everybody's rights. I can't be able to make a church do it because it's a violation of their religious expression. If a public school wants to allow people, trans people are people, they whatever they identify as, that's what they are. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah,
Your daughter is a
agreed.
daughter. She's a woman. She's a young woman. Um, Again, it also, that aspect, the identity aspect, goes both ways. I see a lot of
Yeah.
people on our team who are like, if they call it the Department of War, I'm not going to call it that. I'll call it that. I'm not going to sit here and demand inclusive language on every front and then not provide it out of respect. But yeah, your daughter, is a woman. If the school is willing to allow her to play on their team because it's a public school and they should allow students to participate, because that is a form of discrimination based on whatever. That's how we open the door to that. The federal government shouldn't say that the school cannot do it, the same way that I can't go to a church and say you have to let them do it.
Right.
So
No, agreed. Well, love the answer. Jess, you can drop me back down. I did not intend to take up that much time, but I love the response. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And
thank you
I
for
do have
sharing.
people in Florida, so I will definitely make sure to A, donate to your campaign, and B, share you out to the people I know in Florida.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you for sharing your story, and tell your daughter hello.
I sure will. Thanks.
Thank you, Scarlett.
You're welcome.
Okay,
love.
folks, we are going to switch gears here for a moment because it's 7:30. We're running a little behind time tonight, but we'll make this next part quick and impactful, because for our activist alley tonight, we have a team of amazing Latina women who are using their voice to inspire folks. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to push buttons for you and hope that my computer responds. Hang on just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my esteemed pleasure and everything to welcome Not Your Merch to our live tonight. Hello, ladies.
Hello. Let me see how I get this background in here.
No worries,
Where?
you're good.
Oh, where? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
No.
Mm-mm. I don't know how to put the background in here.
I struggled with the same thing for 10 minutes before.
Oh. Like, I have it saved to my phone. I just don't see the option to, like, choose that.
Oh, I can like the live now. Heck yeah.
Hey, there we go. We know who you guys
Okay.
are.
Well,
It's
I
on the
guess
bottom.
we're
We
not
don't.
going to have a background.
It's totally fine. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So, ladies, I am so glad that you're here. I wanted to bring you on here so you could talk about how you got started. What was your camel, okay? And how you plan to continue in the face of oppression that we are seeing from this administration.
Okay. So I guess I could start with that because the way that I got started, I actually got started with TikTok Shop. So I was a TikTok affiliate, or I still am, rather. And when I saw somebody actually like showing shirts that were against the current regime, I went ahead and picked one up because I thought, okay, this is something that I could definitely wear. And I felt a little more empowered by wearing merchandise like that. So I went ahead and bought a shirt and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wear it and I'm going to make a video because that's what TikTok affiliates do. And I made my video and somebody commented on it and asked a question. And then I responded with like a reply. And when I responded with that reply, people really liked the response and I got a lot of questions about it. So then I thought, okay, and the video started to very slowly start to go viral. So I thought this is definitely something that people want to hear more often. So I ended up getting another shirt and then I made another video and more people were asking, where did you get that shirt? Now that you're saying this, it makes complete sense. And more people continue to like come into my comments. And before I knew it, these shirts were just kind of flying off the shelf. Now, these were not shirts for a shop that we had. We actually, I was doing this on my own. And then I reached out to my daughter and I said, you know, I think that this is something that we can do together. And I think that we can do it in a more fantastical way because the person that I had purchased the shirts from was also selling merchandise for the red team. And so I have a major problem with that because for me, these are not just shirts that we promote. These are for us a movement, a way for you to wear your voice on your chest and then speak your First Amendment right. So for us, it's not about selling a shirt. Yes, we obviously have made a business out of doing that, but it's about actually wearing your voice and being able to speak your voice while you're just walking around. I can tell you that from my perspective, when I put on one of my shirts, I feel more empowered, and I feel like it actually gives me a sigh of relief to be able to wear my voice on my chest. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but that's how it makes me feel. And so when we talked about it, she's like, okay, Mom, let's go ahead and do this. I want to do this. So we ended up opening up our shop, and within, I want to say a week. Was it about a week?
Yeah, because I started making content for about 3 days, and then quickly that content ended because we were so busy.
Right. Literally within a week. It's so funny because when you start on TikTok Shop, they limit you to 50 orders a day, 50 SKUs a day. We cannot sell more than that when you're a brand new shop. And I think they make that's the rule for like 60 days, I think it is. Or
60
something.
days, yep. You don't even get paid, yep.
And we couldn't sell more than that, and we were selling out every day. Selling out every day. We were reaching our 50 SKU quota every single day. So we're like, okay, there are a lot of people that feel the way that we do, and that's clearly something that needs to happen. So we just started, we're like, okay, we're just going to hammer this home. And I just started creating stuff. So this is not like my first rodeo. I've owned businesses before. And we just started making more and more bold merchandise. And some of it just got to be super bold. And I feel like the audience feels, the bolder the shirt, the more popular it seems.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, thank you guys. That's amazing.
Wow.
So pretty.
Wow. That was really nice.
That was really cool. Yeah, I think that's great. I know I've got one of the Chinga Tumaga shirts.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
I just made your cup earlier. It went out today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited about that. Yeah, and this is not just about like, pushing a store, you guys. You need to understand this is like what they are doing is so incredibly important, especially like for me, I live in a very, very, very red state, in a very, very, very red town, in a very, very, very red county. And I know that when I wear something like that, people look at me and there are some people that are like, ew. Left lunatic. Ugh. But there are a lot of other people who look at me and are like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. And that that is so incredibly important, that people know that they're not alone. And just by what you guys are providing, whether it's a cup or a shirt or a sticker on a car, it is incredible. And your designs are so amazing. And Can I announce our little?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Hey,
okay, guys, I'm really.
Will you show my favorite cup? Grumpy
one?
Cat.
Which one?
Grumpy Cat.
Grumpy Cat. Everybody's favorite.
Go grab it.
He's right there.
Oh yeah,
He's on a. We have him right here on a mug.
It's the best ever.
I love it.
Don't tell me you don't wake up every single morning waiting for that big beautiful headline.
Oh, every day. I'm like, today is a good day for a good day.
Trying to be so quiet as a mouse.
Mm.
I see your little face. That's so funny.
I know, Michelle, this is your favorite.
Oh yeah, I know Michelle. Yeah. Michelle was the one who told us to put it on a shirt, and we're like, okay, and then it did really well. So
amazing. Right. That's so incredible. So we have some amazing news. Not Your Merch is teaming up with It Takes a Village, and we are going to be creating some amazing designs that not only promote the show and our grassroots efforts to help get amazing candidates like our favorite Florida Congressional 7 candidate who's here with us tonight, some more eyeballs and some more funding and some more support. But it also is going to help push the message that we are stronger together. And I think that is super amazing. And I'm so excited to be working with you guys to come up with some amazing stuff. So let me ask the chat real quick. What kind of stuff do you guys want to see for It Takes a Village? Like, what do you guys want to see? Do you want shirts? Do you want to see hats? Do you want to see bags? What do you guys want? What do you want? Do you want stickers? Do you want...
Right, you caught us at the right time. We used to just do t-shirts. Now we do everything.
Now you guys do so many things. So, yes.
Tote bag, stickers. Stickers is always a good idea, especially whenever it
I
comes
want
to
that
selling.
too, Luke.
One of the things we've realized is like TikTok we're still a small business, so we can't give everybody free shipping, but we do have a threshold. So stickers are just like $3, and sometimes we'll get you right over the threshold, and there you go. You get free shipping and something else.
Right.
So stickers
Amazing.
are always a good item.
We actually try to like include stickers just for fun in our orders. We've been pretty busy lately, which has been such a blessing because we have a really loyal community for, you know, when we go live and stuff like that. We have some really loyal customers and things like that. But I can tell you from my perspective, like being live and stuff like that, that I can tell that people are not coming to our shop just because of the merchandise. I think they're coming there for community. And I think that part of the reason that they're coming for community is because for so long, people have felt not heard because the right has been so loud, pushing an agenda that is really anti-American, in my opinion. And they've been just so loud, and we've just been like, okay, and we just kind of like let that slide, and we let it slide, and we let it slide because we try to be the bigger person. Well, that time is past. We're past that time. We can't do that anymore. We have to match energy. And I'm not saying that we have to go out and be, you know, radical and, you know, violent or any of those things. What I am saying, though, is that we need to call out the bullshit because that's what it is. And we have been way too correct in not calling out the bullshit for too long.
Yeah.
And that's what's gotten us here. And I'm done with not calling out the bullshit. I'm going to call it all day long. Hey. And thank you. So I'm so sick of all of that. I'm just so sick of being quiet and demure.
Time for decorum has ended. Yep, what that person said.
Completely. Yeah. And I want to see more people on the left bringing the energy and matching what it is that's going on because there's no more time.
That's the only way they respond too.
Yeah, that's the only way. And that's why they've been able to push this. I heard somebody say today, I was listening to an actor on a live and he was saying, oh my gosh, you know, he did it so fast. No, he didn't. He's been pushing this agenda for 10 years. Mm-hmm. You just weren't paying attention.
Right.
It's been in the works for longer than that though. Like
someone told me when I pointed that out, they were like, yeah, but that's not, I was like, they said they would do this. And that's not what they meant. I'm like, you have to listen to what people say and show
my boyfriend this yesterday. Like, I saw somebody on the news and they were like, how do you respond to Pete Hegseth saying something about, or Stephen Miller said, unleashing them onto the people. And he's like, well, I don't know that I would say it that way. He probably meant it this way. No, he didn't. He said exactly what he meant. Why are you trying
to take the words they say?
Literally, like, why are you trying to read their mind? He said what he said. And you saying, well, maybe he didn't mean it that way, that tells me that you feel the same deep down.
Right.
In the military, people would always be like, I didn't mean this. I didn't mean to do this. And something I would always say, and about myself too, is we can't judge other people on what they did and judge ourselves based on the intention that we meant.
Right.
And now it's reversed. They're going to judge me based on what I say, not my intention. People are telling you what they want. Yeah. Right. You can't be like, oh, they probably don't.
Yeah.
You guys are cool. You guys are doing good.
Miller is very evil. And honestly, you all, if you just look, if you just continue to look at the people that are surrounding him, and you literally just take 30 minutes. One of the things that irritates me the most is like, tell me why you hate him. Okay, I don't have that kind of time, first of all, okay? Number one. But number two, why do I need to do your research? Why are you not so interested in your life and your American values that you don't take the time to figure out what's actually going on around you?
Yeah.
It's very frustrating to me when people tell me why. Like, what is he doing? It's like, why don't you know what he's doing?
But we've been telling them for years, right? Like, we've been telling them and they don't listen. So why would they all of a sudden be like, well, what is he doing now? Well, same thing he's been doing that we've been telling you he's been doing for the past 10 years, dude. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So those are the things, and honestly, there are, I will tell you that there are some days, like when we go live, because I've been going live now for, 6 months almost every day. Just recently, I haven't been going live every day, but for the most part, 6 months straight, I've gone live, and I'm on live for an hour a day, sometimes 2 hours a day. It is exhausting to just be on a live and listen to some of the literal word vomit that comes through the screen when I listen to some of the things that people say, because I'm just like, how can you really believe that? with everything that you see on a daily basis, which tells me that they see one news source or they listen to just what he says, which has been proven. I mean, there's a whole website
dedicated to his lies. Okay, I mean,
like a whole website that literally has a countdown of all of the things, or has a count for every single time he spews a not untrue.
Untruth.
Untruth. And I'm just like, how do you not see any of this? And so for me, the more we continue to like push our shirts and push our merchandise out there, the more I see more people like this. I feel like the shirt is just not a way to make a statement, but it's also to show that there are a lot more people just like us out there. And I feel like it's a way for you to give a nod so that you feel like you're in a comfortable space with another person.
right.
Because I can tell you, and I know that this sounds terrible when I say it, so please excuse me. I mean no offense to anyone when I say this, but I don't feel safe around anybody that doesn't necessarily look like me. And now I'm at the point where I don't even feel safe around people that look like me, because I can't tell you how many times people come into our space, into our lives, and tell me they're Latinas or Latinos for Trump, and I'm like, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, part of me feels I don't feel safe, but at the same time, the absolute complete bitch in me is going to completely speak Spanish just to see what somebody's going to say.
I know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I mean, sorry, but that's where I'm at now. You can't be demure and calm. You need to be pissed off so that you can start fighting against all of this.
Yeah, we're not mad enough.
Yeah, we cannot continue to be nice and, politically correct. That time is over.
Right.
Yeah.
Frequently get told that I am too fiery when I do public speaking. And I'm like, well, look at where being complicit got us. Look at where being quiet got us.
Like
Look at
where
where
High
not
Road got
speaking
us.
out and being afraid. We have people in office who are too afraid to speak out.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Get them out.
That really
Get
bugs
them
me.
out.
Yeah. Someone asked this one Amumu 786 two things she said. One, she said we should make sure that says he's on the list. We do have one. It says he wasn't shot. What does it say?
It says
oh, sorry. I shouldn't say
it's okay. He wasn't.
F1's in the chat. We love the TikTok chat.
He wasn't shot. He didn't win.
Yes.
And he's on the list.
Yes. That's what it
And
says.
then there's another one. I think that there's the next one actually says, "I will not be quiet so you can be comfortable."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
that's the one she got on her.
That's the one I got. Yep.
But the other one that's a little bit, that one's really pretty and floral. The other one's a little more straightforward. And then at the bottom it says,
and then she's also said, "I hope you block the MAGAs in the live." And we actually usually don't. We've blocked them, started blocking them a little bit more. But the reason being is because their hate brings us a lot of traffic.
That's true.
and some of
A lot
it's
of
good.
traffic.
I understand wanting to block them.
Mhm.
At the same time, I feel like if we block them, they're not going to hear what we have to say. Now, some of them are just vile.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're gone.
Absolutely
Our mods
vile,
know.
and we get rid of those people. But if you see, it'll boost your algorithm, and we do it because not only will it bring in bad people, and we know that's going to happen, but it's also going to drive traffic so that more people can hear your message. It's
And some
important.
people that are Republicans have come in and actually been like, "I respect what you say, and I'm glad you shared your point of view."
Mhm.
So
And I'm shocked, and I
know
fall out of my
that's
chair.
like maybe once every other month, but yeah.
Yeah.
And the mods love to troll them. Snickers and K-Law, they go crazy in there.
Yeah.
They do. It's pretty funny.
But yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you guys were able to come tonight. And I can't wait to have you back on so we can talk about, the cool things that we've come up with
Right. We're excited to
together.
start working.
Of course, everybody in the chat, please go follow Not Your Merch. They're incredible, and they will make you all kinds of amazing things that will help you express your voice without you having to move your lips. So I think it is so important, especially right now, that we make our stance known so people know we are on the right side of history. So thank you guys.
Wear them. Don't be scared. I used to be scared. And then people would compliment my shirts, and I didn't realize that there was actually a lot more of us than I realized. So now I don't care. But I did
Yep.
used to. Even though I had this business, I was still scared to wear our shirts in public. But now I did it one time, and I got a lot of compliments. So I'm like,
Yeah.
It starts conversations, like the post office lady. Every single time she sees me, she tells me something new about Trump.
Yeah.
So she's like, did you know he always poops his pants? And I was like, yes, I knew.
Yes, we know. Awesome. Well, thank you ladies so much for coming up. We really, really appreciate you, and we can't wait to see you guys again, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
We are getting very close to tar and feather situation here. If I don't get off of this live, Tab and Missy are going to tar and feather me. So let me just wrap things up here by telling the good folks today, if you could, my dear, tell the good folks how they can get involved in your campaign. How can they support you?
Absolutely. So, Kinter for Congress is the best way to get involved if you're looking at it. We have remote volunteering. We do a weekly volunteer call as well, and it's every Wednesday, 7 p.m. It doesn't last super long. We just go over the things we've accomplished for the week, if we have major updates, if we're planning events, and then upcoming and remote things that we can do in person and from far away. We have a lot of remote volunteers. There's a lot of opportunity for it. The number one thing, right? Follow, like on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, are very hard to build a platform on because of the regulation on them and the control of kind of who controls it, right? Which party. And so definitely if you're on Instagram, Facebook, follow me there. I'm Marialana Kinter. I have the same profile picture on everything. And then kinterforcongress.com. Pitch in if you can, and only if you can. Pitch in any amount of dollars. If it's $2, I've gotten donations as low as $2, and I'm proud of it. I'm absolutely proud. This is real people and their real hard-earned money. We don't have thousands of dollars. Something I've gotten told since day one is drop out of the race if you can't raise 100,000 from your personal friends and family. And I was told that by a high up Democrat, and I said, that's crazy. No. Real people are the majority of the United States, and real people deserve representation who understands and lives our struggle. So if you have $1, $2, $3 to pitch in towards the campaign, I would be proud to earn that donation. When you donate to the campaign, you donate back to food drives and clothing drives and community cleanups. That's what my campaign's about. It's about giving back and doing things, not only just service activities, but we did screen printing, an accessible way for people to have merch. People didn't have to pay anything. I brought ink, I brought screens. All they had to do was bring a shirt. Because people want to be a part of something, they want representation, and we need to make it as accessible as humanly possible. If someone's telling me they have $3 to donate, I'm not going to be like $30 for a shirt, you know? And so, kinderforcongress.com, it's all there.
Can you tell us really quick why you got arrested?
Yes, I got arrested for protesting I don't think it's TikTok language appropriate, the catastrophe going on in Gaza and the United States sending billions of dollars to the Israeli government while we have homeless children and homeless veterans starving in our streets here at home. They are misusing the funds. They are creating a humanitarian crisis, and we blocked the entrance to an Air Force base with a Veterans Against the G Word sign to bring attention to it, because when one base goes on alert, all the bases on the coast go on alert. So in order to get eyes on it and get the military talking and get people who would not otherwise be talking, it affected thousands of people because all bases go on alert. And that was the point. And that was what happened.
Brilliant.
And it's still ongoing, so I'm limited in too much of what I can say.
Sure.
But it was for peacefully protesting.
You are a fucking badass. Let me just tell you that. Total badass. Like,
thank you.
We are not worthy. Please keep up that energy. I absolutely love it. Just a reminder to everyone here, it is no secret how we feel about big money in politics. We want candidates who care about people to represent the people. But that money has to... I did
sign the Money Out of Politics pledge because I agree with you.
Thank you so much. It makes such a huge difference, but that money has to come from somewhere. So whether it's your wallet or your time, your talents, even a follow and sharing their content gets more eyes on them and pushes their message out across the interwebs. And you can do that for free. The time for change is right now, and we have to work together. Don't you agree?
100%.
Yes. Awesome. I would be remiss if I did not send a special thanks to all of the amazing mods who are here tonight, content creators who came to support us today, our incredible activist ally, goddesses who came into our chat, our design genie K-Law. Please send them and our candidates some much needed love in the comments. Make sure you are following all of those amazing people. Also, make sure you are registered to vote. And keep an eye on your election schedules in your area. They're doing some hanky stuff these days. So just make sure you're registered. This is not a spectator sport. Here, okay, it requires your participation. You can go and check your registration status by going to vote.gov. This was insanely inspiring, and I know that we have a lot of people who are very, very scared right now. But I just want to remind you all that the fear is the point. Right? Fear leads to panic. Panic leads to inaction and paralysis. But hope and community are the antidote for all of it. Tomorrow, we have a very special show called The Village Hall, where we're going to be chatting with Black candidates from all over the country to do some networking and resource sharing and getting the word out about these amazing people. So it is tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern. I hope you all can join us. And on Monday, one of those amazing candidates will be coming back to chat with us about what inspired him, why the time is now, and how one exactly runs for justice of the peace. Be sure to follow us on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Tube of You. And if I may make a plea, most of the shows on the Political Besties Network are brand new, and we absolutely would love it if you could just pop right on over to Apple or Spotify or wherever you catch your podcasts and leave us a review. It really helps get more eyes on our content. Also, very quickly, the podcast is called The Continuum. And it is one of my favorite podcasts. It's Regil's podcast. It's like less than 15 minutes. It's historically accurate information about how we got here. If you're a history buff and you love that shit like I do, please go listen to it and give him a follow and a little review if you can. Also, it gets more eyes on our content, so that's very important. The dates have been selected for the People's Sick Day. Do you know about the People's Sick Day, Marialana? Do you know about the People's Sick Day?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. One of my good friends, I would consider him a good friend, Devin, not Devon. He
Yes.
is an organizer.
Fabulous. Okay, so you are all in it, and you know all about it. The dates have been selected, y'all, so you need to be going to the Discord. You can go check that out at thepeoplessickday.com to get more information, join the Discord, get yourself on board with all of that. Tab and Missy with TBH is on right now. And I just appreciate all of you guys so much. Thank you all so much. Thank you for coming onto the show tonight. You are incredible, amazing. I cannot wait to show you the clips. It's going to be great. And I hope to have you back. Okay?
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for putting in all the organization for it as well.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Thank you so much.